14-year-old boy has allegedly been shot by a police officer as protests continue to rage in Hong Kong. The boy is believed to have suffered a wound to the leg following the incident and is receiving medical treatment in the hospital. He is reported to be in a serious condition.
Rule of law was shattered on the streets of Hong Kong tonight.
A source from the Hong Kong police told the South China Morning Post that a plainclothes officer who works for the Criminal Investigation Department was said to be inside his private car in the city's Yuen Long District at around 8 p.m. on October 4, when protesters spotted him and started to smash his car windows. The officer was then surrounded by a crowd and he opened fire during the chaos.
In just 3 days, demonstrators directed their anger towards Beijing.
Footage shows bystanders screaming and fleeing after a gunshot was heard from the center of the crowd, thought to be fired by the officer. It was unclear if the boy was shot at the time. The officer was then attacked by activists who threw the first petrol bomb at him. As he was making phone calls to ask for support, activists hurled another petrol bomb. Police said the officer opened fire to protect his own life after being beaten to the ground by a large crowd and faced serious danger. The incident marks the second use of gunfire in the last week by officers, who have more typically utilized tear gas and water cannons to disrupt protest action since it began in March. Earlier this week, an activist was shot in the chest by police firing live rounds, with officials confirming an officer had opened fire in the Suen Van area and that a protester had been hit. It was last reported that he was in a critical condition at Princess Margaret Hospital in Kwai Chung. The latest shooting incident occurred as the city's leader Carrie Lam invoked a colonial-era emergency law to prohibit protesters from wearing masks. Many pro-democracy demonstrators have worn face masks to hide their identities and shield themselves from the tear gas that has been a regular occurrence on the streets across the city. Lam's latest move aims to curb the city's escalating violence caused by anti-government demonstrations, which have lasted now for nearly 4 months. The ban was passed under a colonial-era emergency law known as the Emergency Regulations Ordinance. The law, a relic of British rule, enacted in 1922 to quell a seamen's strike and was last used to crush riots in 1967, gives broad powers to the city's chief executive to implement regulations in an emergency. She said the ban targeted violent protesters and rioters and will be an effective deterrent to radical behavior. The decision applies to people at illegal gatherings who use violence and exempts those who wear masks for legitimate needs. Lam said she would go to the legislature later on to get legal backing for the rule.
On face covering, but it doesn't mean Hong Kong is in a state of emergency.
But a government document detailing the move says it will not only cover unauthorized or illegal assemblies but also apply to gatherings approved by the police. The city's Secretary for Security, John Lee Ka-chu, said the mask ban would carry a jail sentence for up to 1 year or a fine of up to 25,000 Hong Kong dollars. He said protesters would also be prohibited from painting their faces to hide their identity. He added police would have the power to ask a person to remove their mask, and those who resist can be sentenced for up to 6 months. The ban covers any procession with over 30 people and assemblies of more than 50 people, according to Lee. Analysts have warned that the use of ordnance for the first time in more than half a century could set a dangerous precedent. Activists and many legislators are also concerned the ban could be counterproductive, impractical, and difficult to enforce in a city bubbling with anger, where tens of thousands have often defied police bans on rallies to take to the streets. Immediately after Lam's announcement, thousands of people defiantly did take to the streets, still with their faces covered, as they chanted, "Hong Kongers resist."
Stand with Hong Kong!
One protester told reporters, "Will they arrest 100,000 people on the street? The government is trying to intimidate us, but at this moment I don't think the people will be scared." What do you think will Carrie Lam do next to Hong Kongers? Share your comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to watch more videos on China and its growing impact on the world, its freedoms and culture. Hit the notification bell and be sure to share our news content on social media for a better informed network. Until the next time, be well.